Welcome to the Moral Courage Podcast, lessons from the study of Rabbi Harold M. Schulweis of blessed memory, a podcast addressing today's trends and headlines through interviews and conversations with Jewish leaders, inspired by the works of Rabbi Harold M. Schulweis that make Jewish wisdom more accessible, inclusive, and relevant to today's complicated world. Our guests share their Jewish journeys and discuss how Rabbi Schulweis's wisdom provides inspiration and guidance to us today. Hosted by Rabbi Ari Senior Rabbi at Temple Etz Chaim in Thousand Oaks, California, and board member of the Harold M. Schulweis Institute, an affiliate of Valley Beth Shalom in Encino, California.
I'm so happy to see you. We're here today with Rabbi Beth Lieberman, who, along with Rabbi Laura Geller, who was one of my mentors as a rabbi. She's amazing. And so the two of you together wrote Moments That Matter, Marking Transitions in Midlife and Beyond. But let's just start with how are you? Nice to see you.
Hello, Ari. It's very nice to be on this podcast. Thank you for inviting me.
Sure.
I know Rabbi Geller couldn't be here, so.
Yeah, but still to talk to one of the co-authors is amazing. Mm-hmm. I would love to know, for this, how did this project get started? This really important, really meaningful piece of work.
It started at least 10 years ago when I was a rabbinical student. Yes, I'm a second career rabbinical student, interning at Temple Emmanuel. And I took part and ended up managing a community organizing initiative we called it Boomers and Beyond. That was the first name for it.
Right.
It ended up having something a little bit more politically nice, next stage.
Okay.
Its goal was to form community at Temple Emmanuel of Beverly Hills around life transitions in the second half of life. Its goal was to model how synagogues could measure their success in part by the engagement of older generations. So not just the kids, but also older generations.
Yeah.
And, it was meant to model dignity and purpose for all of us as we continue maturing and helping those who come after us to regard aging as an opportunity as well as a challenge. So it was a series of community conversations in living rooms where we asked congregants 3 questions. And the questions were, does this seem like a new phase in life to you? They were all between 45 and roughly 70. Okay? What are you most looking forward to? What experience has raised concerns for you? And then the second group of questions was, can you share an example of a moment where Jewish tradition and the Jewish community offered you something related to this stage of life? Or let's try to imagine what the Jewish community could offer. What might it be? And then we urged people, we were thinking together about changes that could take place in the larger community in Los Angeles, which it was fascinating because people never talked about this before, at least that we knew. And we had Rabbi Rachel Cowan with us, who she started it. She opened the first meeting for us, and she went on to develop the Wise Aging program at the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, which I ended up being very involved with.
And then how did it go from a series of classes where you're taking notes on each one and going, okay, this could be in the book and this could be in the book? Or was it 8 years later, you go, remember that class we did? What if we took that series and turned it into something usable for the wider community? Right? I mean, as a rabbi, so many things that we do, once it's over, I go, and that happened. But to think once it's over, we're going to do something with it and send it out into the world. That's a big conversation.
Absolutely. Well, we had gatherings at people's homes, and there was a social component to it. In a way, I have to say that Rabbi Schulweis's development of the Hafarah movement, I think, was a precursor to this, because what we ended up forming was, age cohorts. And these people ended up were inspired to be very active in synagogue life, and they actually formed the next leadership cohort of the synagogue. We had 4 areas that we were imagining together in. They were different aspects of life. One was helping others. One was social action, or maybe those were together, actually. One was imagining different forms of community, and that included thinking about living arrangements like co-housing, which, we hear about all the time now, but this was something that was being discussed for people as they got older, so that they could actually not go into retirement homes, but live with people they wanted to be with, and have some control over the situation.
Did you learn something as a person, forget as a rabbi, as an author, as a student, as a person? Were you learning how to age and going, I want to be like that, I don't want to be like that?
Yes, definitely. I have to say, these groups of congregants were so incredibly inspiring because they just wanted to be who they were, just older and wiser. So I certainly do not want to be the older person who complains all the time, or who my grandkids don't want to go see, or who gets stuck. And that's also part of the reason for this book. So over these period of 10 years, and the 10 years have involved, for me, taking that to 2 additional synagogues, to Shomrei Torah Synagogue and Congregation Or Ami,
Okay.
where it looks different in every community, but it helped us to develop new rituals. I mean, Laura Geller is a pioneer, as you must know, in the development of ritual. She was at the forefront of feminist ritual.
Yeah.
And so she's thinking about ritual. So we were working together because I was basically interning for Laura and then working for her. She went on to write with her husband, then husband, Zal Richard Siegel, Getting Good at Getting Older, which was meant to be the bookend to the Jewish catalog, which actually Rich had been one of the co-authors of it, or the editors of it. And it was kind of, let's figure out how to get older. And there were some new rituals in there. There were lots of stories. There's a lot of how-to, and that's been out and been quite successful.
It was also interesting that when he was younger and wrote the first books, this never crossed his mind.
Oh, I'm sure it did not. You're right.
Right. Anybody of a certain age, we're immortal, we're going to be healthy forever. I go to the gym once a month and I'm going to be in good shape forever. And as you get older, you start realizing we're all getting older. And in my community, I'm younger than average. And I go, my body is aching. I can only imagine what another 40 years would be. And how do these people do it? It's conversations that I have constantly, and I sometimes feel ill-equipped for them just because of my age, right? When I was a kid, and Rabbi Schulweis was my rabbi as a kid, he may as well have been 100. He was God. He was amazing. And then to look at it this other way, and go, oh yeah, my bar mitzvah, he actually, you do the math, he wasn't that old. We just saw him as old. And so now we have, there's a lot of really beautiful senior living facilities in our area. And I'm really happy that one of our smart, still in good shape congregants in her mid 60s moved into one. Because that's such an example for me to be able to use with other people, because now we have somebody else who's in her mid 70s in our community who's not in good shape, and could really use that kind of support. And she goes, well, maybe in 10 years I'll move in there. I go, why are you waiting until you're in your mid 80s to make this choice? You're having a hard time keeping up your home. You're having a hard time making your own meals. You're having a hard time paying all your bills. there's an easier way to do this. And there's a wise aging that we just kind of never really talk about because maybe it feels weird coming from somebody decades younger than them.
Maybe, or maybe it's cultural. It's countercultural.
Right. I mean, right. We're living longer generally. We're living healthier generally, which also means that we're facing longer decrepitude, if that's not an inappropriate word.
Well, I'm gonna push back on that with you.
Please, that's what we're here for.
Because getting older does not necessarily mean it's more than the physicality of it all. It's the spirituality of it all. It's the intellectualism of it all. There's so much to it that we haven't looked at because we're just biased. We're all ageist. For instance, and we have the chapters in this book go from, I don't know, have you seen the table of contents yet or anything like you? Okay. So they start in midlife, right? So they start in when you're launching your children out of the house, and they end when you are in a retirement home, basically, in a new community, whatever that looks like. So we don't go beyond that. And the reason is that there are plenty of books about what happens at the end, and the longevity that we're experiencing is elongating. We know it's elongating adolescence for those of us who are watching that happen. It's elongating midlife, and there's a new stage that didn't exist before, which is active aging, which is when you're active and you're maybe ready to retire or not even ready to retire. And those extra years take up where we think, oh, we're going to be in bad shape for much longer. But we're actually active for much longer than one might think.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I mean, I'm constantly aware, looking at congregants or even family, how much age is a state of mind, also a state of luck, right? The woman in our community who on her 80th birthday walked across Israel is partly because she goes to the gym, she takes care of herself, everything else, and partly because she is lucky enough to have a mind that works and a body that works, and knowing that her mother lived to 108 and was pretty with it until 105 is luck. And I look at other people who, for all the reasons, it's just they're on our Mishaberach list because every week there's a new malady, and it's not because they're not taking care of themselves. It's just life. It's
life. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot as you know, certainly, in your work, there's so much we can't control and this is where ritual comes in, because people think of ritual as maybe sometimes it's personal practice, it's prayer, it's self-care, it's your morning coffee and newspaper, or it's ritual design if you're in the corporate world or organizational world. What we're concerned about as rabbis is rituals for moments of life transition. So, which in those, it helps us to pay attention. It helps us to transform our experiences and to resolve the complicated feelings. So we're not solving the problems, but we're not denying the feelings of complicated switches, whether it's retirement, whether it's kids leaving the house, whether it's needing to use a walker. We've got a lot in there. We've got needing hearing aids. We've got memory loss, coming out with memory loss. One of my favorite chapters, actually.
Coming out with memory loss.
Yeah, because it's groundbreaking. I mean, in terms of addressing that.
Right. I mean, that's one of the hardest conversations that families have is like, if one person sees it and one doesn't, what do we do about mom? And one of them goes, she's fine. Oh, she's not. And then it takes convincing. And are you watching? You're not even watching. And there's coming to grips with it and sitting down with mom and saying, we noticed these issues. Oh, I haven't noticed. It's hard. One thing that strikes me about ritual is so many of our rituals are days that we choose, right?
Hmm.
We have a bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah at 13. Call it 12 and a half in some communities. For us, it's 13. Um, and we've chosen this day. It's as the onset of adulthood. It used to be in some Mishnaic times, the onset of puberty. But first of all, we're not checking that in any kind of real way. That would be mortifying for everybody involved. And
Indeed.
it's not that easy in the same way and so we choose a day. 13 years old, you're now an adult in our community. Right now, couples are living together very often before they get married. So the wedding is a day that they pick, sometimes 2 years out. And so to go, okay, we're going to formalize this moment of transition, this mezuzah moment from being on one side to being the other. We're going to pick the day and pick the time and pick the place. Some of these are given to exact days. Your retirement is a day that either your company or you and your family have decided, all right, 68 years old, whatever it is, or maybe your financial planner
That's so
decided for
young.
you. I know.
That's so young. Come on.
I know. We do have people in their 80s who are still working full force, whatever the age is. But like and other ones, right? Needing a walker. That's not a day that we choose. That's a day that somebody says to us, "We worry for your balance and your well-being. You need this," or your doctor says it, or whatever it is.
Well, that's interesting. Yes and no. I think you can choose it too if you're intentional about it.
Yeah.
I just had this happen with my mother. My mother has needed a walker for a while, and I kept telling her, well, she finally said to me, I think I need a walker. I said, great. And then she did nothing about it. So 6 months later,
everything. Yeah.
6 months later, I decided to take the bull by the horns. I ordered her a walker and sent it to her apartment in New York. Okay. She got it. She was very upset. She didn't even open the box. She said, no, I want to choose when I want to do it. Take this back. I'm sending it back. So I took it when I was visiting, and I brought it to the post office, and I returned it. And in 2 weeks after that, my mother had bought herself a walker.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
and how do can you share with us, what does a ritual for any one of these, you can pick your favorite. What does a ritual look like?
I'd like to walk us through a milestone birthday, because milestone birthday can be anytime, meaning, it could be the 0 years, it could be the 5 years, it could be any decade you choose, right? So, but we're talking about elderhood. So elderhood, which, by the way, ask me about midlife too, because why midlife is in here. Yeah. There is a reason. So in our ritual, we introduce it by bringing in Pirkei Avot, the classic Mishnah that tells us a 50-year-old can offer counsel, a 60-year-old attains zikna, the wisdom that comes from life experience. A 70-year-old attains ripe old age, or seva, fullness of age. An 80-year-old shows strength. A 90-year-old becomes stooped over. Okay. And even though life is very different now from what it was during the time of the Mishnah, yeah, some things still actually are kind of right on. So in celebrating a milestone birthday, we take people through how they can think about getting to the point where they will be giving counsel, where they will be sharing their wisdom, and where they will be present in the fullness of their age. So you gather with whoever you want to gather with, family, friends. It's designed a bit like a Tu B'Shvat Seder. Okay. It has 4 glasses. Each participant has 4 glasses. The first one is a cup of milk, and it represents childhood.
Okay.
And innocence. So you go around the table, and we go around the table. We invite participants to share a story or a recollection of their childhood that contributes to the sense of wisdom that is now theirs. And we say the blessing for milk. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nihyeh bidvaro.
Amen.
The second cup is a cup of sangria, which represents the tween, teen, and young adult years. So that symbolizes the sweetness of discovery paired with the headiness of life during those years. And then we invite participants to share a story or an image of those years and of that self that contributes to the wisdom that they hold at the moment that they're doing this. And then, of course, we do Borei Pri Hagafen. Okay. Next, the third cup. What do you think the third cup might be?
Tea. I don't know.
That's a great guess. No, the third cup is champagne. So there. So right there, we're bucking expectations. So we're honoring our years of building an adult life, which might include a family or one or more careers. Champagne is a celebratory symbol of achievement or reaching a milestone. So participants share a story from those years as well with a blessing. And then the fourth, as to celebrate this new stage of elderhood, it is a glass of water.
Okay.
Water, known for its life-giving properties, represents ultimate clarity of vision. And this is where we get into the spiritual components of fullness, being in the fullness of age. And then we talk about the traditional birthday blessing, right? Ad mea ve'esrim. May you live to be 120 like Moses did, or, there's also Sarah, right, who lived to be 127 years instead of, or 100 years and 20 years and 7 years.
Right.
So why was that? Because the rabbis suggest that at 100, she was as youthful as she had been at 20. At 20, she was as energetic as she had been at 7. So together, we say a variation of that. We say, Ad mea ke'esrim. May you live to be 100 as though you were 20, still active, engaged, curious, and grateful. And then we say a shehechianu. That's one of the, I think, wonderful, one of the most, I think it's going to be the most widely used ritual in here. We have lots of stories in this book too, people who've been through various stages. We missed a transition, which was when your kids move back into your house, which is my transition stage right now.
Why include midlife in here?
Yeah. So we get that question a lot. And it's because if you're into depth psychology, which I kind of am into, midlife is a time of profound transformation in depth psychology. If we, those of us, want to earn the vitality and wisdom of mature aging, which has to be earned, it doesn't just come to us. We have to learn what we're doing. Then we have to prepare for it. It's basically prep work. And that's seeing the wheel start to turn in a new way. Or Jung had this saying, which he was fascinated by people who were 50 and above. And he said, midlife is when you look at the ladder and realize it's actually leaning against the wrong wall. And I can explain that
Go for it.
And if it makes sense. We're climbing the career ladder, we're building a life, we're out there doing things, and we're doing it because we want to support our families, we're doing it because we're passionate about something, we're doing it because, or we think it's important work, or we're doing it for some other reason. But there gets to be a point where some of us say, I don't know, it's not quite as meaningful for me to work 80 hours a week doing this. I'm sorry, I'm a boomer, so I say 80
Yeah,
hours. Yeah, we're total overworkers. 60 hours, let's say, doing this. I want to go where my life has meaning. I want to put my efforts toward that. And that is what can be started in midlife if we are paying attention.
What's your path to being a rabbi? Because you said it's second career. So how did that happen for you?
Well, I was in book publishing. I was an
Wow.
editor at an in-house editor, an acquisitions editor, then for decades. And my specialty was commercial fiction, actually, commercial women's fiction, because I
Okay.
love women's stories. But when I came out to LA and I started to get much more interested in my Judaism for some reason, it could have been because Laura Geller was my rabbi, but I'm not really sure. I started to work on Jewish books. So, for instance, I was very involved with the Rashi's Daughters trilogy and the books that
Sure.
came after. So, in fact, Maggie Anton likes to tell people that she's the reason I became a rabbi, and I will give her credit for it, of course, because I just loved it so much, and I was involved with getting it published and all that, and we
Wonderful.
worked on multiple books, and then after that, I was lucky enough to work on Milton Steinberg's last novel that was never finished and never published. It was actually pulled out of the archives by Jonathan Sarna and shown to David Behrman at Behrman House, and it was called The Prophet's Wife, and it was about Hosea and Gomer.
Wow.
And I had a great time with that, and I helped shape the novel, the kind of what was coming, what could be like, what was publishable with it, worked closely with commentators on their pieces, even, got involved with the West Coast Scholars Panel. And that kind of set me down a path of, okay, I've worked with all these novelists, I've worked with all these memoirists. Now I'm going to start working with scholars and rabbis and students to create literary works for this, for a more academic market, and basically focus on the Jewish market. And I did that, and I still wanted to learn more about Judaism, so I just had no choice. I kind of had to just go get more schooling, can I say?
Yeah. That's wonderful. What a meaningful career move that is. I realize that I'm a little younger, but I was in the film industry before, and looking at my class in
Yes.
rabbinical school, most of the people had some other career. We had one person who went from undergrad to grad school. Everybody else had at least whatever it was, 5 years to 20 years in a different field. And at
Right.
some point went, wait, there's something meaningful here. I love the title
Yeah.
of Sarah Hurwitz's book is Here All Along, which is if just like it's always been here. This love, this desire, this connection, the right philosophy, it's always been here. And I'm trying to find a way to access it. And I feel like the same could apply for your book. The idea of these moments of transition seems to always have been there. We have rituals for transitions that we made up. They're not in the Torah. It doesn't say at 13 a boy reads, it gets called to the Torah. And
Mm-hmm.
that this isn't in there. We made that. There is no talk of really weddings in the Torah. We made that. But there's so much talking about age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Moses was 80 when he began his journey. Sarah was 90 when she had her first kid. All of these people
Yeah.
who had a lifetime of wisdom. Abraham wasn't called by God for the Lech Lecha moment until he was 75. So
Yeah.
I teach a class, and we got to that chapter, and some of the women in the class go, because until you're 75, you don't have the wisdom to be listening for God. You're too worried, I guess what you were saying before, of where your ladder is heading. You want to make sure that you want to have your career and your family, all the things that you're worried about in life. You don't realize your purpose, your meaning until you are perhaps a little more settled.
Yeah. I love that that this was has been part of your life experience in terms of making that shift, but you made it early on.
But for becoming a rabbi, or
Yeah.
yeah, it's sure. So I was right. I was 5 years out of undergrad, did a few years in the film world,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that I needed something a little bit more meaningful for me. I still have friends in the film world who love it and are thriving, and it wasn't the right match for me. And I really love
Right.
this and what I do, and to know that our synagogue has a very strong preschool and a very strong religious school, and most of the people I deal with could use your book. Right? Most of the people I deal with are at this stage in their life, and
Right.
how beautiful, how Jewish, how holy to note that this has to be talked about, because
Mm-hmm.
so many people get to this point and they go, I guess I'm not useful to society anymore, or they don't have rituals, they're out of the religious school, their kids are post b'nai mitzvah, post confirmation, if that's part of your synagogue thing, and then they're like, there is no deep Judaism for them that's
Well,
catered to them specifically,
yeah.
right? Just come to services or whatever else.
Yeah.
And so to have these, to say there are moments ahead, there are beautiful, holy, sacred moments that we can come together and bless as a community. Really nice thing.
Well, each chapter has a section at the end for that clergy can use for communal gatherings. So
Yeah,
maybe you'll be doing it with your
I'm
congregants.
sure I will be. I'm sure. I wanted to, just because this is a podcast where we talk about Rabbi Schulweis or think about him, and to think of when I knew him, when he was at my bar mitzvah, if my math is right, he was in his 70s. So he was definitely in this stage, and so many people these days remember him as this wise elder. Not many people around remember him as a young up and coming rabbi. And and so he's written so much poetry and such beautiful
Mm,
poetry. I want to read
yeah.
just a piece of his poem called "It Is Never Too Late," because it just feels in line a bit with this. It says, "The last word has not been spoken, the last sentence has not been writ, the final verdict is not in. It is never too late to change my mind, my direction, to say no to the past and yes to the future, to offer remorse, to ask and give forgiveness. It is never too late to start all over again, to feel again, to love again, to hope again." It keeps going from here for another couple stanzas, but
Yeah.
just this idea of there is still so much beauty, wisdom, Judaism, sanctity in all of the years. And the fact that you and Rabbi Laura Geller did a beautiful job framing it, giving people who need that framework the tools that they need so they could note the beauty of each of these life stages. It's just so nice.
Thank you. I like to see this as part of the legacy of Rabbi Schulweis's legacy, in that Rabbi Schulweis had a gift for bringing people into the community who might not have been brought into the community, would not have been heard, would not have been welcomed. And this is, I think, very much in line with that.
Sure, making sure that non-Jews, that people who have chosen Judaism, that people who are gay, that people who are blind have a place in the community. And so to make sure that this is part of that as well.
I mean,
Such,
even women in a minion.
right, yeah, right.
Early on.
It's strange to, this comes up all the time. I was at a Shiva Minyan yesterday, and the non-observant son-in-law of the deceased said, "We can only count men in a minyan." I go, if that's your practice, then I'll respect that, but you're not you're not, it's not, you're not Orthodox. Like, it's okay. We can count everybody here. And either way, it didn't matter. We were so lucky. There were 10 men and dozens of other people as well. So it's, but it's still, these ideas still come up. I go, do you know, Dalif Nemi Atamed, do you know who you're talking to? Like, I'm okay seeing women as full human beings, that they can be counted in the minyan, and they can lead services, and they can read Torah, and they can be rabbis, and it's,
Yeah.
anyway, so nice to talk to you. Is there something you're studying, something you're reading, something you're grappling with right now that you want to tell about?
Well, I am grappling with the rising anti-Semitism
Yeah.
in this country and in other parts of the world. And so what did I do? I decided that I would, among the other books that I'm reading, tackle an 800-page novel by George Eliot,
Oh,
published in 1876, titled Daniel Deronda. And this is an incredible novel that is about Jews in Victorian England, something that I think can be quite instructive for us. And it was also about proto-Zionism and about paying attention. It forces you to pay attention because you spend an entire chapter listening to one person's thoughts. Like there's no action until the next chapter. It's very Victorian in terms of the way it's written. So
sure.
It's cool in all sorts of ways, I think.
Yeah, you're the second person to bring up George Eliot. I think that Rabbi Wolpe
Really?
said he's rereading for the 10th time, Middlemarch.
Oh, interesting.
So incredible. Glad that she gets a shout out here on the podcast.
Yes, she deserves one.
Well, Rabbi Beth Lieberman, thank you so much for joining us. The book is available everywhere. And by everywhere, I mean like every website, CCAR and Amazon and wherever else you find these kinds of books. Good luck with everything. And we can't wait to have you probably come to all the communities in our area to talk about this book.
Been so...
Oh. Yeah, I'm saying bringing meaning to people's lives in all stages, which is amazing. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be in conversation with you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Sure.
Yeah.
You will.
Thank you for listening to the Moral Courage podcast. We are produced by the Harold M. Schulweis Institute at Rabbi Beth Shalom, which supports these podcasts in addition to educational programs within Rabbi Beth Shalom, the Schulweis Library, changing exhibitions at the Liner Chapel at VBS, Jewish World Watch, and the Jewish Community Children's Choir. The Moral Courage podcast is hosted by Rabbi Ari Averbach. Our consulting producer is Esther Kostanowitz. Our technical producer is Eric Weiser. We are grateful for the support of the Institute and Haley Lazitsky-Weiser at SadClown Productions. To learn more about Rabbi Schulweis or to make a donation to help support these podcasts, visit the Institute website at hmsi.info.